I don't know if you're like me, but I tend to try to do things that I'm not really equipped to do or skilled to do. Sometimes that's like, I'm going to try to fix our dryer. I'm going to try to fix air conditioner. I'm going to try to fix plumbing. I'm going to try to fix something. And it involves a lot of Google, a lot of YouTube, and 10 trips to Home Depot or Lowe's to get all of the things that I think I need. And then I go back and I'm like, oh, I actually bought the wrong thing. And so that tends to happen to me a lot. And I haven't learned yet. Maybe I will someday. But there was a time in this room, probably a year or so ago, maybe more than that, and we're trying to figure things out. So these TVs, every week we hook up, and we hook them up to a computer in the back that then projects all the stuff, and there's all kinds of, Bill Gates did it, I don't know. So that's my theory. And so it's all this technical stuff, and you've got to hook this wire up, and you've got to have this adapter. And so I've looked up, okay, what do I need? I go on the right Facebook groups to ask the questions. I Google the stuff. I buy the right stuff on Amazon because, that's where you buy your really expensive high-tech things. And so I got everything that I needed. We got it set up. We run the cords, and Chris Derrick, I think, was helping me probably a few times doing this. And we run the cords, and we try to hook them up to the TVs, and nothing's working. Nothing's working. Well, maybe if I rerun it, nope, nothing's working. Okay, let's. This one must be broken. So I'm pretty sure, pretty positive that this has worked before, and today it's not working. And so let's buy a new one. Let's go to Amazon. Let's buy a new one. We'll get the same thing that we already have because it must have just broken randomly. Something happened to it, like electrical, or Bill Gates cast a spell on it. I don't know. And it doesn't work anymore. And so now it's stopped working. We order a new one. We get it, plug it in. It's still not working. And you would think you would just keep doing something different. You would look something up different, and it's not working. Have you ever tried to do something the same way for a very long time, and it's still not working for you? Now, finally, we figured out that, these two parts, one has to be on this end and one has to be on this end. Even though they look identical, there's one little word that's different on each one. And if you don't have them in the right order, it doesn't work. We finally figured that out. But it took a long time for me to just keep doing something the same way that I thought was the right way, and it wasn't working. Anybody ever have that happen to you in life where you just keep doing the same thing, thinking that you're going to get different results? There's a definition for that. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but let me give you a recent survey. So this is a recent survey of thousands of American families. So these people were asked, what are the most important challenges the family is facing? So this isn't psychologists telling us this. This is not educators telling us this. This is not necessarily the real thing, but this is what people feel like are the most important challenges that their family is facing. Now, you'll notice that these don't add up to 100%, so people could put more than one thing on here. But they were asked, what are the most important things, the most important challenges the family is facing? 29% said mental and physical health. Sounds about right. 29% mental, physical health. 23% said quality family time. 22% said high work demands or stress on parents. The other 78% weren't parents. Otherwise, that would have been 100%. 22% said the costs of raising a family. I'm shocked that it's that low because my grocery bill is ridiculous. 20% said tensions or disagreements between family members. Does anybody have disagreements with your family? If you don't, then you don't have family. All right? You just don't. I don't care how good your family is. You're going to have some disagreements. You're going to have some, I think you should be living your life this way. And no. And it might even just be how you cook a certain meal, but it might be more than that. So that's kind of the overall, if you ask people. But now here's what's interesting. Ask some younger people. If you ask teenagers the very same thing, what did they come up with? They said this, 40% said mental health. That didn't get better. 39% said overuse of technology. See, you used to think it was like only the grandparents that didn't like technology would be like, it's that Nintendo, it's going to kill them. Like they're playing too much. Nope, it's not. It's not that. These are teenagers saying, this is a problem. Not sure what to do with it, but it's a problem. 29% said bullying. Wimps. Just kidding, I'm kidding, I'm sorry. It's too easy. Too easy, sorry. 24% said pressure to use drugs or alcohol. 21% said divorce or family breakdowns. Now this survey is hardly revealing or revealing anything that surprises anyone who's paying attention, right? Like these are things that we kind of know. It's in the news. It's in the newspaper. Like we experience this all the time. It's not shocking to us. But it's interesting that we're having all of this at a time when human achievement, human technology is at its highest point that it's ever been. You would think that with all of this new knowledge, this new stuff that we've got, that everything else would seem to be getting better. I mean, I can just ask ChatGPT to do anything, and it can pretty much do anything except for make my dinner, right? Like you would think that would make life easier. It doesn't. So here's a question. What if the ways of the world are unable to lead us to the kind of life that we all hope for? And here's a bigger question. Is it even possible to find this kind of peace and rest anymore? Now, for the people of God in the book of Joshua, they've arrived kind of in every sense of the word. They're in the promised land and they're about to enjoy the life that God promised them generations ago. And in Joshua chapter 21, verse 43, we'll put this on the screen. If you scan the QR code, you can get the message notes and everything else, or you can write something down. But I encourage you to write down something because God probably is speaking to you this morning. But in Joshua chapter 21, verse 43, it says this. It says, "So the Lord gave Israel all the land he had sworn to give their ancestors. And they took possession of it and settled there. The Lord gave them rest on every side, just as he had sworn to their ancestors. Not one of their enemies withstood them. The Lord gave all their enemies into their hands. Not one of the Lord's good promises to Israel failed. Every one was fulfilled." Now, what promises does God have for you? You ever wondered that? What promises does God have for me? Or God can't possibly have any promise for me. What God-given dreams and aspirations does God have planned and promised for you and those who live in your household or under the same roof as you? And although they're no longer threatened by war, lack of food and resources, they now have a permanent place to call home. The Israelites are surrounded by cities and cultures that are threatening to move in and destroy everything that God has given to them. And near the end of his leadership, near the end of his life, Joshua gathers everyone together one last time. And in Joshua chapter 24, verse 1, he says this, "Then Joshua assembled all the tribes of Israel at Shechem. He summoned the elders, leaders, judges, and officials of Israel, and they presented themselves before God. Joshua said to all the people, 'This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. Long ago, your ancestors, including Terah, the father of Abraham, and Nahor, lived beyond the Euphrates River and worshipped other gods. But I took your father Abraham,'" see, that's where you get the song. Some of you sang that song. I didn't even know what that was. It's in the Bible. "I took your father Abraham from the land beyond the Euphrates and led him throughout Canaan and gave him many descendants. I gave him Isaac, and to Isaac I gave Jacob and Esau. I assigned the hill country of Seir to Esau, but Jacob and his family went down to Egypt." They worshipped other gods. And while Joshua wants to emphasize Abraham's pagan past, there's kind of a more important reason to begin with this kind of double-edged reminder. Sure, God can bring anyone into his family and promises. Here's the amazing thing. Abraham wasn't born a follower of God. God came, chased after him, found him, and made him some amazing promises. And so anyone and everyone can find God, can become a child of God. And yet, at the same time, also, anyone can wander away from God's promises. I don't know if you've realized this, but initially, God kind of led Abraham away from the land of Canaan. And here's what I want us to understand is that sometimes a change of scenery is needed before there's a change of worship. Sometimes there's a change of scenery or perspective that's needed before there's a change of worship. What do you mean by that? Well, what if the culturally acceptable, busy lifestyle is leading to your and your household's physical and mental issues? Like it used to be that you go say, hey, how are you doing? Great. How are you? Now, the primary response, hey, how are you doing? Busy. Good. That's like my go-to. Like, I'm busy. Is that good? That's just the way it is. But what if the culturally acceptable screen dependence is at the heart of a less quality family time in your home? What if the culturally acceptable pursuit of more is causing you and your family to wander away from a life of God's blessings? Like, is it time to move your family? And not out of your neighborhood, not necessarily out of Egypt, like actually physically moving, but maybe out of the routine. Maybe out of the schedules, maybe out of the activities, maybe out of the accepted cultural creep that we've allowed into our lives. Or maybe, just maybe, that's why God moved you from where you're at or where you're from to Orlando in the first place. Can I ask you a question? Who in here was not born in Orlando, Florida? Raise your hand. Is there anyone who was born in Orlando, Florida in this room? 1, 2, 3. Okay, we've got 3, and I know one of you don't even live here anymore. Right? Nobody's from here. Here's the amazing thing. This could be like the world's worst place to live. Nobody's got family. Nobody's got people to call and say, can you come help me move? They all live like 1,000 miles away, north or south. We look at this sometime as if like, man, this is the worst thing. Like we moved to Florida and man, we moved away from everything and yeah, it's sunny, but man, everything else it's rough. But what if we had a different perspective? What if God was using your move away from what you thought was home to this place where now you would be dependent on Him instead of just the comfort of family that you grew up around? The comfort of your neighborhood market that you knew. The comfort of getting an easy job because you knew everybody that lived there. What if God maybe moving you here was part of His plan to get you to focus on Him and to be able to worship Him more because now you've had a change of scenery? But maybe it's not moving. Maybe it is some of the things that we talked about earlier. But what needs to change for your family or your household? And Joshua reminds the people how far they've come and all that God's done. He's miraculously set them free in Egypt. He's led them through an impossible object, the Red Sea. And He's provided for them in the desert with manna. And then Joshua goes on to remind the people of all the victories that God has given them over the Amorites, Moabites, Jericho, the Perizzites, Canaanites, Hittites, Girgashites, Hivites, and Jebusites. It's a lot of sites. And he's given them a lot of victories. And Joshua reminds them, hey, remember when? It's a Memorial weekend, right? Man, remember when our country had victory here? Remember when our country had victory here? Like we can do that, and it's easy. We can just Google and probably find them out. And well, Joshua's doing this for his people and going, remember when God did this? Remember when God did this? Remember when God did this? And oh, by the way, he's not done yet. And then finally, Joshua says in chapter 24, verse 13, he says, I gave you a land, this is talking about God, on which you did not toil. In cities you did not build, and you live in them and eat from vineyards and olive groves that you did not plant. Now fear the Lord and serve him with all faithfulness. You live in a city that you didn't build. You work for a mouse that you didn't create, right? You're educated in a school that you didn't design. You drive down roads that existed long before you got here and haven't been fixed probably since you got here. But you do all of these things. Maybe they're God's blessings in your life and you're overlooking them. And God is reminding us, look what I've provided for you. Look at the place that you are cursing that I'm saying this could be a blessing. This place could be a blessing for you if you would allow it. But now, verse 14, now fear the Lord and serve him with all faithfulness. Throw away the gods of your ancestors worshipped beyond the Euphrates River and in Egypt and serve the Lord. But if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, then choose for yourselves this day whom you're going to serve. Whether the gods of your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates or the gods of the Amorites in the land you're living in now. But as for me and my household, we're going to serve the Lord. God is worthy of our faithfulness. At one point, all of the people of Israel, their ancestors like Abraham, had worshipped or considered worshiping other gods. I wonder, maybe we don't think of it this way, but have we worshipped other gods? Have we made other things in our life gods that we chase after? We've made other things come first and foremost before serving God. You know what they call that? A god. Now, what do you desire to worship? Success and fame? Power, politics? Physical, sexual desires? What do you desire to worship? Who's worthy of your thankfulness? Who's worthy of celebration? Who's worthy of your faithfulness? One of his last messages to the people entrusted to his care, Joshua's making it clear to everyone, you have a choice to make. But as for me and my household, he says, we will serve the Lord. There's no confusion. And Joshua makes it abundantly clear that not only he, but his entire household, everyone in his family, has already made their choice. What about you? Who are you going to serve? Who is your family going to serve? Now, after Joshua's challenge, it becomes time for the people to respond. And I wonder if we would respond the same way or not. In verse 16, then the people answered, far be it from us to forsake the Lord to serve other gods. It was the Lord our God himself who brought us and our parents up out of Egypt, from that land of slavery, and performed those great signs before our eyes. He protected us on our entire journey and among all the nations through which we have traveled. And the Lord drove out before us all the nations, including the Amorites, who lived in the land. We too will serve the Lord because he is our God. They got a little bold. They made their decision. And then you would think Joshua would go, let's go. No, this is what Joshua said. Joshua said to the people, you're not able to serve the Lord. He's a holy God. They're like, we're going to do it. We choose God. He's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. You think you do. But you haven't counted the cost yet. You're responding out of emotion, but I don't know that you really are. You're not able to serve the Lord. He's a holy God. He's a jealous God. He will not forgive your rebellion and your sins. If you forsake the Lord and serve foreign gods, he'll turn and bring disaster on you and make an end of you after he has been good to you. You're not able to serve the Lord. Very encouraging, Joshua. Not one of the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership at all. His response kind of seems a little strange. And we don't know exactly what he's doing. Is he challenging them to count the cost, or is he actually challenging them to consider that following God without his grace is impossible? Either way, we know this is a serious commitment. And for those of us listening and considering this commitment today, we've got to do a couple things. And the first one is this: count the cost of the Christian life. Count the cost of the Christian life. Luke, who was an early follower of Jesus, he remembers Jesus challenging his disciples in the same way with two short parables in Luke chapter 14. And in verse 28 it says, "Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it?" Moms, you know what this is like. Before you go to Costco, will you not write down the list, check the bank account, and make sure you can afford it before you go? Right? Dad, before you buy that boat, will you not make sure that you can afford the gas to go in it and the trailer to haul it before you buy the boat? This is kind of a duh thing that Luke is saying, but this is what he says. Everyone who sees it will ridicule you, saying, "This person began to build and wasn't able to finish." Like, he just started something thinking it was going to be easy and stopped. He didn't actually think it through. Or, suppose a king is about to go to war against another king. Won't he first sit down and consider whether he is able with 10,000 men to oppose the one coming? For those of you that are younger brothers and you try to go up against your older brother in a wrestling match, like, this is kind of what he's saying here. You forgot about that. He's got man strength. You're still a boy. Right? You can't do that. For those of you that are 40-year-old men and you still can't whoop your 65-year-old father, it's the same thing. You haven't thought about it yet. Think it through. You can't win. Verse 32, if he's not able, he will send a delegation while the other is still a long way off and will ask the terms of peace. In the same way, those of you who do not give up everything you have cannot be my disciples. One of the biggest reasons Christianity is so misunderstood and misrepresented in our culture today is because far too many people have started building a Christian life and then abandoned it before it was complete. He who began a good work in you is faithful to complete it. But he can't do it if you're running from him. He can't do it if you're choosing other gods, if you're choosing to live in sin. It's surrender. Are you building a life founded on God and his promises? Has your family determined to give up everything to follow Christ? Joshua and Jesus both make it abundantly clear that anyone who enters into a commitment with God and a relationship with Jesus counts the cost before they decide what kind of life they want. And this is not about living in perfection, right? We know that none of us is good. None of us is. This isn't about counting a cost for salvation. This is called, do I want to follow Jesus? Am I going to live for him? Am I going to follow him? I'm going to live in his promises. Here's how the Israelites listening to Joshua then respond in verse 21, chapter 24. But the people said to Joshua, "No, we will serve the Lord." Then Joshua said, "You're witnesses against yourselves that you have chosen to serve the Lord." "Yes, we're witnesses," they replied. "Now then," said Joshua, "throw away the foreign gods that are among you and yield your hearts to the Lord, the God of Israel." Throw away the foreign gods that are among you. This implies that while the people are making this commitment, there is a physical response of going through their things and getting rid of anything that would be a distraction from them and God. Distance them from God or detour their relationship with God. What needs to go in your life? Man, this sounds like one of those like 1980s, we're going to throw out the bad cassette tapes with the bad music type sermons. Maybe. That's not really what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is there are probably some things in your life, some routines in your life, some habits in your life, maybe relationships in your life. And if you are going to follow Jesus, you have got to get rid of them, put them aside, throw them away before you're able to chase after him. Now, the amazing thing is, when we seek Christ and his kingdom first, all of the other things he will take care of and he will add. And so the amazing thing is, sometimes the very things that we are letting go of, God brings right back, but with more blessing than they had before. Sometimes he doesn't, but sometimes he does. And so this isn't just a call to be miserable. This isn't just a call to be desperately poor and all Christians have nothing. That's not what this is about. This is about laying down anything and everything in your life that would come between you and God. And then when God is living through you and bearing fruit in your life, the amazing thing is sometimes he expands the vineyard of your life. You're a good steward with some, and he expands and gives you more. And it's not always stuff. Sometimes it's relationships. Sometimes it's other things. But what needs to go in your life? But for those of us considering this, we must surrender completely to God. And do you remember the first week or so that we were in this study and we talked about this woman named Rahab? Rahab was not an Israelite. Rahab wasn't in Egypt. Rahab was in Jericho. Rahab was a person of the land. Rahab was not a follower of God. Rahab was a prostitute. Rahab was about as far away from living a holy life as you could imagine. And remember what she says to the spies in chapter 2, verse 8. She says, before the spies lay down for the night, she went up on the roof and said to them, I know the Lord has given you this land, and that a great fear of you has fallen on us, so that all who live in this country are melting in fear because of you. We've heard of how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea for you when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to Sihon and Og, the two kings of the Amorites east of the Jordan, whom you completely destroyed. When we heard of it, our hearts melted in fear, and everyone's courage completely failed because of you. For the Lord your God is God in heaven above and on the earth below. And so she recognizes there is something different about these people and their God. And she recognizes there's defeat on one side and there's victory on the other. And so she makes a deal with them and she says, hey, I'm going to help you get out. And if I help you get out, you're going to protect me. And she makes this deal with them. In verse 17, now the men had said to her, this oath that you made us swear, will not be binding on us unless, when we enter the land, you have tied this scarlet cord in the window through which you let us down, and unless you have brought your father and mother, your brothers, and all your family, your household, into your house. If any of them go outside your house into the street, their blood will be on their own heads. We will not be responsible. As for those who are in the house with you, their blood will be on our head if a hand is laid on them. But if you tell what we're doing, we will be released from the oath you made us swear. And agreed, she said, let it be as you say. So she sent them away, and they departed, and she tied the scarlet cord in the window. Years before, Joshua gathers all of the people who at that point would have included Rahab and her family. Years before, the Israelites said, today we choose who we're going to serve. a prostitute in Jericho gathered everyone into her house and said, I don't care what my culture said. I don't care what my entire city is all about. I don't care what my upbringing has been. But as for me and my house, now we are putting our faith, we are putting our lives in the hand of the God of Israel. And so we're going to gather together, put out the scarlet cord, and to this day, we're choosing who we're going to serve. It's amazing. It doesn't matter how far from God you are. God is always near. It doesn't matter how far from God you are. God has made a way for you to be with him. In the story we heard today, we see a choice laid out before the people of God, a choice that echoes down to us. Like Rahab, who takes a leap of faith for a future that she can't see. And the tribes who must decide where their loyalties lay, we're facing our own decision. Many of us wander. We wander. Sometimes without even realizing, worshiping modern day idols of success, pleasure, comfort. And we chase after these things for a fulfilling life, but often they leave us feeling more lost than ever. It's that old saying, how's that working for you? The good news. The good news. This is the verse that our church is built around. The good news, John 10:10 says, the thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. But I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. Life isn't just about surviving or even thriving by some arbitrary standard. It's about choosing a life that's rich in meaning, filled with love and overflowing with purpose. And while Jesus is not offering a life free from hardship, we believe he is offering a way through it with a promise of life as it was meant to be lived, fully and fearlessly. Choosing to follow Jesus means placing your trust in one who sees your past, knows your present, and holds your future. Choosing to follow Jesus means believing that you are made for more than mere existence and that you are made to love and to be loved by your Creator. So the question before you isn't just about belief, it's about desire. Do you want the life that Jesus offers you? Do you choose that life? If you choose that life, he comes first. And all the other idols get tossed to the side. Let's pray.